Hey students, I'm going to teach you about while loops in this video. So there's two different types of loops in Python. There's for loops and there's while loops, okay? And they call these iterations. What it means to be an iteration is that it just means it repeats the code over and over and over, okay? The difference between for loops and while loops is while loops, you don't have to know how many times you're going to repeat the code. And for loops are great for if you do know how many times you want to repeat the code. So there's actually a lot of crossover between for loops and while loops. Like you can creatively use a for loop to do something a while loop would do and vice versa. So there's a lot of crossover. But it's really good to know about both of them because some of them do have things that the other one can't do. So I'm going to tell you about while loops. So I'm going to make a program that's going to ask the user to guess a number. Okay, so this is the number I want the user to guess. Let's come up with some random number, maybe 12 or something. And we're going to name it properly so that we know what it is. Number. Okay, so and then I want my program to keep on asking the user until they finally guess the correct number. So we're going to say while, and with while loops, we always have to give it a condition. So while this is still true or while this is still false, while loops usually operate off of Booleans. Remember, Booleans are like true or false statements. So just any kind of statement that's true or false, even if it's mathematical. So if you had like, while x is less than 12, right, that's a true or false statement. Okay, so let's say this time, while we're going to create a variable x and just say that we're going to make it a Boolean, right, a true or false statement. Actually, I'm going to make this one false. Okay, while x is false, so while x is still false, okay, so you probably noticed here, this is me creating a variable, okay? It's a Boolean variable, which means it's a true or false variable, but I just said x is false, okay? So anytime you print x, anytime you do something with x, it's gonna think it's false. Okay, this right here, this is different, okay? So this right here is how you create a variable. This is more like the equals sign in math, okay? So we just barely said while x is still false, we're going to run this bit of code. So if x wasn't false, it wouldn't run this bit of code. Okay, so I'm going to ask the user to guess a number. So the guess is going to be, and remember, the computer always reads whatever the user puts in and whatever you type in down here in the terminal, the user or the computer reads it in as a string or words. So you've got to cast. Remember, casting is changing it to the type of variable you want it to be. You've got to cast. So we're going to change it to be an integer by putting int. Okay. And then to get user input, you just put input in parentheses. Okay. And I want to ask the user a question. I want to say, please guess a number between 1 and 20. And then I'm going to put a space at the end there. Okay, so now I'm going to have whoever's teaching my class for me pause the video. All of you guys get to this point and just make sure you have the right number of parentheses in there and make sure you have your colon at the end here. Remember, we have to have a colon at the end of while loops. If statements, it's going to be on the end of for statements as well. So anyway, we'll pause the video for a second. Okay, hopefully everyone got that far. Now, if you had tried to run your code at that time, let's try and run the code there. Let's run it. Okay, it says, please guess a number. You're gonna guess, you're gonna guess, you're gonna guess, you're gonna guess, you're gonna guess. And even if you guess the right number, my right number was 12. Even if I guess 12 there, it's gonna still have me guess a number, okay? Right, that's because this while loop here, it's actually what we call an infinite while loop right now. It's just going to keep on going on forever.